Greetings, everyone. Coinstamp 180 here, otherwise known as Swirling Vortex '09 on YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Elden Ring Reforged. Last time, we picked up the class system, specifically the Oracle's Effigy. Was still kind of infantile in its implementation, i.e. there were still some bugs as of version 4.36. A new version has been released. I believe that is version 0.4.37? 0.4? 4.37. And specifically, the fortunes should now appear no matter what we do. Like, the menu to see them will appear. But, the ability to select them is still based on what we purchase. One other really big thing to note in yesterday's patch is the inclusion of the weapon reading system. So basically, you know how some weapons... let me see if I could try to find a practical example of this, so I could show it. So a dagger like the Erdsteel dagger has like a weight of 2.0. This isn't something you can actively see right now. I'm just posing the hypothetical so it makes some sense. If it were based on its own weight, Erdsteel dagger should attack faster than the Reduvia, slightly, based on its weight. Of course, according to the version notes here, basically it is not directly tied to the weight. They've been given a value. So not directly, but like the weight still has some bearing, I imagine. The parrying dagger is considered a really lightweight dagger, and the Syndikia is considered a heavyweight dagger. The whole point pretty much is the attack speeds have been adjusted up or down depending on a certain number of arbitrary factors plus their weight. So, we'll be looking forward to that later. It might become more apparent when the weight discrepancies or weight factor discrepancies are larger. Additionally, whenever we were going to bump into this, the quest line for Vare, the White Masked, the one where you have to go online and invade people, patch 1.06 introduced a new way to complete that quest line without invading people, which is great. But of course, that was tinkered with in Elden Ring Reforged, but that had a bug attached to it, and that bug has been fixed. So, if you really want to know more about this stuff, all you have to do is type in !ERR, and that'll bring you to the mod page. You'll have to copy-paste the link into your browser of choice. And then the current file will have either a changelog attached to it or text describing what the changes are. One of those two things would be happening. Today, my plan is to quickly figure out what's going on with patches. Then this building here is the artist's shack. There will be a painting here. We need to go get that painting, because that painting will have an item associated with it, depending on the place we go to. And I happen to know the approximate location where this is. I do not 100% remember, but I'm fairly sure I could deduce it quickly based on my memory. Then after that, I believe the plan was to start exploring these places up here, and probably just kind of sweep around Limgrave in general. Then, of course, you know, rather than go handle Stormvale Castle, what we're actually going to do is go over to the Weeping Peninsula and take care of everything that is more or less here. I do want to try to kill those nighttime bosses before before we make our way over through and actually handle Godric. That's what this is ultimately culminating to, is dealing with Godric. How are you guys doing today? I'm doing alright. Of course, I'm hacking it up with long COVID, but that's nothing special. Also, I'm not normally in the practice of wearing robes on stream, but I got a nice little gash on my calf I'm watching out for, and I need to keep an eye on it so that if I notice it start bleeding, or I feel it bleeding, more likely is what it'll be, I can quickly get up, go to the bathroom, partially disrobe, and do what I gotta do to clean the cut. And I did not want to do this. Anyway, we've been ambling around too long as it is, so I guess let's get going. And we're in the teleporter trap. So this chest is going to take us someplace that...
Well. I should have known, you scheming little thief. The gods demand vengeance. Vengeance!
Don't worry, Patches. I know that trap was really intended for someone else, or, And would you look at that? All that... Oh, and we can't teleport because of the trap. That's not particularly difficult to deal with. We're just going to go ahead and skedaddle on out of here. Yeah, it seems intimidating at first, that teleporter trap. Also, I just realized that the music is entirely too loud. There. That should be better. I'm quite sure I was blasting you guys with, ambient music. I have to say, although the soundtrack isn't always, stellar. It's not always stellar. But the soundtrack in Elden Ring is really good. A lot of the bosses have excellent excellent scores associated with them. And at least there is music this time. My God, Dark Souls 3, for as many glowing marks as I want to give it, the music is kind of what the lack of music, except during bosses and Firelink Shrine. The lack of music made it feel almost empty. Like you're kind of like a hunter in the wilderness, and I get that feel. Some people really like that feel. Others really don't. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't mind some areas of silence, if I know that the silence is contributing to something. But when every place is silence, 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 then there's a problem. That gets boring, old. It lacks flavor. The music gives, at least the ambient that we get here, gives us some flavor. It gives us something to listen to besides, I don't know, me, a neckbeard, breathing down everyone's face. I don't know. I don't really know how else to put it. Okay, we're gonna be careful. Here are two of the belt traps here. This is just one of those places that's... It's not hard to navigate. You just have to pay attention. So, I have a question. I don't necessarily need an answer, but I kind of want people to be thinking about it. For those who've played the game before, what's your favorite musical score from Elden Ring? Mine has got to be Godskin. The Godskin Apostle / Noble music. they're the same either way. It's both of the phase scores for both of the musical scores for each phase. It's killer. Mwah, chef's kiss. So good. All right, Patches, you got anything to say about that? Also, does the yeah, that's a one-time teleporter trap too.
Oh, why in? You're alive. Oh, you had me proper scared, puffing away in a flash like that. Well, maybe it's a sign to keep your mitts off what's not rightly yours, hmm? But I'll forgive you. View it as a learning experience.
Patches.
It's just nice to see you safe. Oh, don't miss all the bargains here at Patches Emporium.
Patches, there is no safe experience with you. When are you going to be honest?
Yeah. Oh, those bandits make a clean break. Now they're all suppliers. And good ones at that. I mean, they don't understand a word I'm saying. It hardly matters. We have a natural connection. They're all foot soldiers. Survivors of a defeated army. Worked to the bone by their high and mighty lord. Only to be thrown out with the rubbish. It's the same old story everywhere I go. To hell with it all.
Yeah, what he gave us there was a pretty important piece of information. You want to know just how few sane people there actually are after the Shattering? That story should give you a good idea. All the standing armies, the plants, the animals, like, yeah, the plants and animals, at least the ones that aren't sentient, are living life the way that life is intended to be lived for a creature of the lower order. But anything remotely human or sentient has been driven mad. Absolutely mad. Or it's so powerful that even in madness, those creatures aren't doing much except repeating the same old routines. It really kind of is. It's a gilded wasteland. That's probably how I would like to describe it. It's a gilded wasteland where really there are only a few sane people and everyone else is just an automaton. So here we're going to grab the Missionary's Cookbook. We can buy infinite flight pinions while Patches is at this location. He will move. He will move a lot of times. So, and his inventory will change. You'll still have access to some stuff, but as he moves, you will lose access to some other stuff. I'm fairly sure. The fan daggers, the gold pickled foul foot, and the glass shards, like anything that's infinite use is fine. But some of these limited use items would actually be quite difficult to replace. We're going to just pick up the cookbook and the stone sword key. I like to pick up keys wherever I can. I don't like leaving a stone key imp statue alone. I don't like to leave those things to chance. We are just going to go ahead and trade off some stuff. Hopefully we will have duplicates. We do not, which is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Yep, thank you for your purchase. Thank you for your business. Alright, we're here now. Let's go back to the ruined cellar. We can make our way north. My favorite musical score out of the game so far has to be the Godskin duo. Or the music that plays during any Godskin Disciple fight. I'm trying to think what a close second would be. I'm sure I remember one, or I know of one, and I just can't remember. What was that? Oh, right, the guys on the crucifixes. Yeah, that'll definitely do it. Altered garb. Oh yeah, do we have the... I don't know if we can do it yet. Let's check our key items. We had the tailoring tools, so we can make armor alterations when we're resting. I'll try to show that off as soon as I get a proper opportunity. Proper opportunity? Proper opportunity. My speaking is getting worse. My increasingly ripening age, shall we say. I'm 30. I'm not the 23-year-old that people knew me as when I first started this. I'm older now, and I'm not as spry as I once was either. I lose my words a lot. That wasn't so hard now, was it? The Glintstone Arc is great for those guys. It's just, if you don't get the jump on them, it can be quite the kind mercenaries on horseback are brutal. They're some of the more brutal early game enemies you'll fight. Along with the stone imps, which are basically copy-pasted thralls with one or two differences in moveset. Yeah. If there's anything that FromSoft likes doing to conserve budget, it's to recycle enemies. Give them a new skin, give them a fresh coat of paint, maybe change what weapon they're using, but ultimately, they're thralls. You could literally paste the enemy type from Dark Souls 3 in all the locations that have imps, and you guys really wouldn't notice a thing. The only thing that would change is, replace the hatchet axe with like a sickle and you've got it. That's the only real difference I'm aware of. Even the backward slashing that thralls are sometimes known for, no matter which version of them you're talking about, still exist here too. Yes. The Artist's Shack. Well, we might as well dispense with our runes so that we're not holding on to them. Alright, so changing garments. Garments, typically when you alter a garment, what you're really doing is removing the cape. I want you to notice the images here. You notice how this one is the unaltered one, right? And it has a embroidered cape on the back. This one does not have the embroidered cape on it. It's just the shirt. Another big tell that you'll know was that the weights are different. The one with the cape weighs more, the original. The one where the cape is removed, generally you lose a weight unit or 1.5 weight units. There are also slight changes in stats. And doubling the poise just by having a cape on is so stupid, but it's the perfect illustration of what I'm talking about, where altering the garb does actually make a minor difference. Of course, it's still Fashion Souls, so wear whatever you want. I'm grateful that this even exists in the first place. This is hardly touched in the base game, and it's something I'll be looking forward to seeing Kurnifer maybe play around with, is, what kind of alterations can exist for a piece of gear. Is there actually enough design space in Elden Ring that like unused design space that you can do things like, I don't know, maybe you can increase the weight by adding epaulets, just straight up on items that have it, or maybe you could remove the epaulets instead, and drop the weight on some plate that normally has epaulets, or shoulder plates, basically, for the uninitiated to armor wear. Of course, I'm not going to be editing any garments. Why? It costs. Look, to change it from one to the other, no matter which item you're looking at, if it's a distinct item, that's 500 runes. Just down the drain for a minor difference in stats. That's basically what you're looking at. Is slight difference, pay 500 runes. Later in the game, you tinker with it as much as you like. But earlier on, don't waste the runes. It's not really worth it. No matter what, only do it if you really want to change your look that badly and still wear the same piece of armor while you do it. Homing Instinct painting. So, each painting, I'm assuming that people who are coming here have some familiarity with it, but for those who maybe don't know, I'm going to move this ever so slightly and tilt the mic this way. The instinct paintings can be examined with your switch display button, mid. Work of a wandering artist. Reminiscence of a painting, or reminiscence of a painting titled Homing Instinct. This painter is said to have captured the landscapes seen during the last moments of those who welcomed into death's embrace. The soul of the painter and the vestiges of the dead's last moments can be discovered by visiting the location depicted even now. So here's a misconception about these paintings, okay? And I will be using a guide for some of these. They're really insidious. You're not trying to get... this isn't Breath of the Wild, where with Breath of the Wild, for viewing the memories that Link had, you wanted to go to locations where you could see the view. Here, you're trying to match what's in the painting. They're somewhat different in execution. With Breath of the Wild, you stand there looking for a view. You need to go to that specific spot, and get the view. Here, you're trying to recreate the painting, more or less, just without the camera angle. You're visiting a precise location. The execution is different, but it is more or less basically the same idea. Now, to get to that lovely little painting, what we're going to do is head back over to the first step. And, speaking of step, I'm going to step to a bag and put a cough drop in my mouth. Delightful. Yeah, should be over here-ish somewhere. Just be careful. Mind the holes. There are holes in the cliffside that if you fall into them, it is death. There is no, 20-foot fall into nothing and then dying. With a clear place to land underneath that, no. You just straight up die. And trust me, the sooner we can be out of here, the better off our sanity will be. So look, this is one of those holes. Looks like there's something there, right? It's not. I promise you don't want to fall into there. Just don't do it. Now, the place of importance is right here. There will be a ghost, and when you see the ghost off, it'll drop an item, or sometimes it'll be like a material or something. I think the first couple are definitely items. Let's read our reward, shall we? An incantation scarab. Let's see. Golden scarab worn directly on the head. These scarabs roll clumps of incantations during their labors. Slightly reduces the FP cost of incantations, but increases damage taken. As the scarab approaches death, it abandons its rolled treasure and stretches its wings wide for the long journey to its home nest. And as you can see, look, we get negative mitigation, which means, looking at the way that this has changed, a absorption of negative 7.688 means that we'll be taking approximately 7.7% more strike damage. I don't know if that's on top of or separate from just general physical damage negation, which we would already be taking a negative 1.34, or not taking a negative amount. You're taking 1.4% more physical damage while you wear this. I don't recommend that you do this unless it's a no-hit challenge. Then you know this gear might actually be perfect. But I'm gonna stick with our chainmail and kind of leave it at that. That's the artist shack all taken care of. That's the first thing on our menu done. I believe our stream title for today is Artists, Warriors, Wizards, and Warlocks. Yeah, I haven't had the chance, a good proper opportunity to grind up the necessary runes for getting the other classes yet. That will be a work in progress, but in the meantime, what we're going to do is make our way over here-ish. We're going to be getting something... We're going to be talking to an NPC. That's more or less what we're going to be doing. One that we haven't met yet. You gentlemen are going to have to try harder than that. Or ladies, I don't know. They definitely look like dudes, though, without closer inspection. And of course the ones that are wearing helmets are, well, it's impossible to know about them. But I think the presumption is most of them are male. I think that's the presumption. I initially didn't think you could cast Carrion Slicer on, like, I much prefer casting spells on foot as opposed to horseback. Until I found out that you could use Carrion Slicer almost identically to a melee weapon you pick up by itself on horseback. Then I changed my tune and I realized, oh, hey, wait, maybe, just maybe, there's something to this whole sorceries on horseback thing going on here. Easy. Yeah. We're already starting to kind of get the hang of combat here. We're kind of starting to come into our own on some things. Not everything, of course, but some things definitely. But you still don't want to get arrogant or cocky. And I certainly don't want to either. But we're probably gonna bump into another nighttime boss here. I've talked about the Knights Cavalry and the Death Birds. There's another. There's another one, and it sits at this shack too.
Not seen you before. Name's Bernal. Tarnished, just like you. Let me ask you something. Are you here in the lands between to take up the fight? Does your faith in the guidance of grace hold firm, despite the collapse of the Golden Order?
My faith holds firm.
Yes, you're tarnished. Takes me back. That's a quality needed now more than
My apologies about that.
interest in bearing
I have loud neighbors sometimes.
all I know is the sword. Picked up a fair few tricks in my time, too. Now's the time to pass them on. To a good and proper tarnished, like you.
You think I'm a proper tarnished? Sure. Let's scab at you a bit more, Mr. Bernal.
There's a myriad of battle arts in these lands that I've yet to discover. Mementos of all the warriors who raised their arms in battle, lost and died. A fine tale, all told, of true chivalric romance. That's how I fell in love with the sword and the arts of combat. It grants meaning even to falling in battle, to death itself.
Huh. Kind of like the romance of the Three Kingdoms or something like that. I could buy it. Ah, yes. Bernal does something new in this game, folks. And it's not ready yet. We could get it when we're ready, but there's no point in getting it right now. And even if we did grind up the runes for it, what are we going to do with it? But yes, one of the planned features that Kernifer has talked about is the Limgrave Coliseum. You know, that place where we fight the NPC invader, nearly get trounced by him, and get something for our trouble, something very small, something generally not worth it. Yeah, that Coliseum. Letter of acceptance into the Limgrave Coliseum's tournament. A letter addressed to an unnamed champion, inviting them to partake in ritual combat. The Limgrave Coliseum can be found on the northern cliffside of Limgrave. Good to know. I'm surprised that the model for this is so detailed. But let's take a look at what you have to offer. So when Ashes of War are sold like this, you're buying the real Ash of War. You're not buying like a one-time use or anything like that. You're buying something that you can put on any weapon that doesn't have a unique Ash of War on it. And you'll get the whatever it says, plus an affinity below that. See how it says, usable on all melee armaments, endure, heavy. Endure is the Ash of War, noted by the title. And heavy is the affinity. Heavy increases the strength scaling of a particular weapon. If something has heavy on it, like let's say a dagger, or I'm sorry, let's say a short sword has DD scaling, D strength, D dex scaling, heavy would probably reduce the dex scaling to E and bump up the strength scaling to a C or even a B, depending on, the item's individual strength, like whether it's upgraded or not. We're not going to purchase any of these right now.
Not floating your boat, eh? Well, there's no rush. Knowledge of the arts can wait another day.
Also, is it just me? Or does this guy look like Liam Neeson? He totally looks like a Liam Neeson to me. He's even got he's missing the Actually, does Liam Neeson have a full beard? I don't think he does. I think he sometimes rocks a goatee or a mustache, but the last few times I've seen him on camera, he's been clean-faced. He's an old guy. Yeah, he just, make the hair shorter and you have it. And, add about a dozen wrinkles. The guy's lived through a lot. Yeah, he totally has a Liam Neeson look to him. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be offensive or anything. It's just... sometimes someone's just got the look. They've got the look. And I'm going to leave that reference right there. If you know the song, you can hum it in your own head. I'm not going to do it no matter how badly I want to. Let's see. What is next? We talked to Bernal. Up here's where we would fight the Deathrite bird. I think there's an encampment over this way. And Gollum somewhere up here. You know what? Let's head north. Also, what time of day it is? Is it late night? Yeah. For us to fight this particular boss, we would need to reset it to night and then rest at the site in order to actually get that fight to show up. We're not ready for that yet. I'm just gonna move along. Sorry. I barely have time to even think about muffling the mic before the itchiness takes over and I begin to cough. Oh, what happens to be pursuing us? Okay. I believe it's through here. Might even be able to go up the hill. I want to say there's either an item up there or it's beyond the bridge. But I believe there should be something over here. Oh, we can fight something. It's been too long since we've had real combat. Let's break up the monotony with some violence. How have you not noticed me yet? You see what I mean? Trolls like that gave us trouble before. And now look. We can whip them out. We can take them out no problem. All we have to do is just keep our heads on straight, and we've got it. Ah yes, we're back up here. So... while I have everyone's sort of attention and there's a lull in what I can talk about in-game, I want to remind everyone that this is the last official day that I'll be streaming at the 1 p.m. time slot. On the 17th, my first day of class will begin, and I'll need to start streaming at 2 p.m. This is on the content roadmap, so there are documents for this. After that, I will remove and delete the content roadmap. That way no one is confused by trying to refer to a document which is no longer accurate. Don't worry, the days in which I record or stream don't really change. It's just a time slot. And while I would keep it at 1 o'clock, I'm really not sure that I wouldn't be late to my own stream all the time. I'd essentially have 10 minutes to get home because class lets out at 12:50, and I have to walk from one building over to a vehicle loop to be picked up. And then I have to account for downtown Augusta traffic, and let me tell you what, downtown Augusta traffic isn't good. It's bad. Especially on a Monday evening or a Wednesday afternoon. Brutal. And that's Augusta, Georgia, in case anyone was semi-curious or like, hey, are you sure you're not talking about Maine? No, I'm not. Definitely talking about Georgia. I think there are like at least 3 or 4 different Augustas in the U.S. though. So the specification is necessary. Alright. Next order of business. Let's see. Let's return back to the War Master Shack and head east. Northeast, excuse me. Speaking of college, on a different note, anyone else have college starting around this time of month? For me, it's gonna be in 3 days. I'm sure for others, it's either around this time, or you're already back in class, or you'll be in class next week on a Friday or a Monday or a Tuesday even. That seems to be when most people are in class. Excited, nervous, scared, anxious, angry. I know I could point out the elementary school emotion chart for you, but my point in mentioning those emotions are, it's important to occasionally take time to reflect for yourself. It's important to take the time to ask yourself, are you sure you want to keep doing this? Are you sure you want to be here? Because college or higher education beyond a GED it's not for the uninitiated. It's not for people who... I need to be really careful how I say this. It's not that some people just can't do college. That's not true. But you have to come into it with the idea that college education is a system. It's a system. It's not just about the education. It's not about learning things. It's about accepting what the environment is. It's that halfway step between, or it's that continuum between school and work, where within like the first year, it still kind of feels like school. It still kind of feels like school. And someone totally hit me with a firebomb just now. It's that halfway point, and it still kind of feels like school. As you start getting into your upper level courses, however, and about the halfway point in your degree, when you're going for your bachelor's, you realize that it gets a lot closer to what a real work schedule looks like. Suddenly, you're going to events like one of my tabletop acquaintances is a poli-sci major, and so he spends a lot of time writing thesis papers, a lot of the time writing papers, a lot of time doing research over a smattering of topics, and the rest of the time, when it's not exams and papers that are at least 15 pages long, He's in debate halls. Real debate halls. And getting judged over the content of the speeches that he puts together. It's kind of like if you're a public speaker. If you're a public speaker, that's exactly what you do. You write papers, you put together speeches and presentations, and when you're professional, you get paid to do it. That's just, you get paid to do that type of stuff. For me, I am a cellular and molecular biology major. That is my major for my bachelor's degree right now. What does that mean? Well, in layman's terms, it means I look at tiny things that make up each and every one of us. These things called cells. And I learn how they work. Everything from how they replicate to how they supply energy to your body. How do your cells communicate together to form this network that we refer to as tissues and organs? How do the cells in your heart work? Like on a general level. I'm not... if you get the chance to specialize later, and some people become cardiologists. Not in my field, mind you. That's usually more of a medical thing, not a scientific thing. Sorry. It's getting rather jargony, but my point is, I study small, tiny, round objects that make up our body, that take in energy, spin energy back out, and somehow we wake up day to day not even thinking about the level of chemical coordination required to do this. That's what I do. That's what I'm studying. What do I want to do with that? I want to say, well, I want to study how people can change these small, tiny, round things. Whether you find small, tiny, round things in bacteria, i.e. the whole bacteria, or there are things that can get inside these small, tiny, round things that typically come in a variety of shapes, including but not limited to space alien ships, six-legged freaks such as spiders. No, I'm sorry, those are eight-legged freaks, aren't they? Or, small, round viroids that have an envelope on top of them made of our cells. I want to study how people tinker with that stuff. Because how do you think COVID-19 was developed? And don't say wet market. I promise you that has been debunked. Go look at the missing NIH articles. Understand why China did not give the United States or anyone else a copy of or access to flight. The government is still trying to fit it. Perhaps rightly so. The United States National Institute of Health has something to do with it, because it does. Why would records go missing? And don't say, well, it's a clerical error. The NIH is automated. There are no clerical errors. If there is a clerical error, then it's inept software that should be dismantled immediately, or else corrected immediately. We've let a clerical error sit in the National Institute of Health records for 2 years and some odd months. Gonna be closing in on 3 shortly. Yeah, no. That doesn't sound like incompetence to me. That sounds like, we have two governments, two big to fail governments in the world trying to cover their own butt. by manipulating the record and saying, oh, well, it didn't happen the way you said it did. It's not illegal. This research isn't illegal. Might not be illegal, but that ain't the point. It's ethically wrong. I would encourage anyone. Oh, no. Now, these guys are always a handful. They're usually the last roadblock I have before I could officially say an area is easy or difficult. If you could get rid of the knights without too much problem, then also got to be careful of the path here. Oh, goody. I love when things like this are happening. Okay, it doesn't look like anyone actually heard that. But the world's a scary place, guys. You wonder why sometimes my outros are like, hey, be safe out there, guys. There's a reason for that. And that reason usually is, you know, people are doing all kinds of wicked things. Evil always exists in this world. The only thing that changes about it is how it's done. The evil of yesteryear consisted of burning witches at the stake, who were just innocent women. You know, labeling everyone commies or communists because of fear, the Red Scare. Or unnecessarily profiling Muslims, people who are of the Islamic faith. Today's evil is now of a much more insidious scientific and medical nature. Everyone's always talking about great resets, or, you know, humans are too populous for their own good. We have to remove them. We have to reshape how humans behave so that they're in tune, they're in lockstep with nature. That's the attitude of a meddler. People who think themselves gods, or think their judgment is somehow better than everyone else's, so they get to sculpt the worldview. I mean, that's the human condition, right? You're always going to have people who think they know better. It's called the main protagonist syndrome. Everyone gets it, me included. Sometimes I felt like, and I still feel like, the US is on its way toward a civil war. The permanently country-destroying kind. There really isn't going to be a way out of the failings of adversarialism when it's corrupted. Because that's ultimately what the founding fathers of the US built that system on, is adversarialism. You know, the idea is that we have completely different methods of how we want to accomplish a goal, but as long as the values we hold dear are exactly the same, then we can come to some kind of arrangement eventually. What happens when nobody holds those same values anymore? Then it's just a tug of war between whose population is loudest and can raise the most money, and who can hold an office long enough for there to be problems. That's ultimately what you end up happening, is the system seems rigged because it's broken. Because people have forgotten what the adversarialism is supposed to mean. Because the values have become too disparate. One side, they have extremists who I would call anarchists. Communo-anarchists. On the other hand, you have real fascists out there. True fascists. And they exist on both the right and left. Who want to tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. If you don't think the left and right have fascists, the US, left and right. If you don't think they have fascists, you should go read what their platforms are all about and the systems that they use in order to make sure their parties stay in line. And so there isn't any dissent. I promise you, the only kind of dissent there is in the US political system is approved dissent. Or, to put it another way, the only kind of division that exists is based on what I call a false flag war, where two sides present what are supposed to be very clearly different options. But are they really? When you get down to it, both political parties want to control some aspect of your life from top to bottom. Some say, well, you know, you can spend your money however you like, but we're going to tell you where you can and can't go, the people you can and can't talk to, the thoughts you're allowed to hold in your head. The other side is saying, we could really use your money, all of it. We don't care what you do, you know, as long as it helps us in some way. But we're going to make sure that society is painful for you if you manage to get in our way. Don't those sound like basically the same group of people? You just change which things they're for and against? And when you realize that, then I think you start to realize both the US political parties are exactly the same. They only pretend to care. They only pretend to have everyone's best interests at heart. They only pretend to be competent. But they keep wedge issues around to keep people divided. They will temporarily solve a problem just to turn around and replace it with a different one. Oh, come on. I don't need this right now. Well, it's happening. Yeah, I thought so. Torrent can get us in trouble sometimes. We'll have to come back here in a hot minute. Put a gem there, so I know to return there. But that's pretty much... Don't turn around now. Horseback combat is not my forte, but I'll do my best. And I kind of want to get this guy off his horse as soon as possible. That was close. Once you fight them enough times, you get used to them. really the big idea is that, and the idea in general with Elden Ring is just don't always be so quick to dodge. Sometimes you should parry. Sometimes you should just wait. Sometimes you should just walk or run in a different direction. Don't always dodge, because if there's one thing that FromSoft has been pretty consistent with is ever since Dark Souls 2, their AI has gotten a lot better at roll punishing. Like, catching the roll. That's a problem. It means that as the player base becomes more aware of, oh, hey, I need to dodge in order to avoid things, you're going to have folks essentially saying, or you're going to have the dev team essentially saying, we are keenly aware that this is how you want to handle something. What are we going to do? We're going to make sure you can't handle it that way. At least not without having to be on your toes. Need to be on your toes. That's kind of the name of the game. Elden Ring's a different beast. You don't really get to dictate the terms of fights anymore. That's because there are so many different attacks that enemies and NPC invaders can use to keep you on your toes. You kind of just have to wait for them to mess up. That's all there is. You just wait for them to mess up. And to do that, you just kind of have to be patient. You really have to get good. There's no AI. There are AI manipulations you could take advantage of. That's part and parcel for the game at this point. But the real trick is to manipulate the manipulations. If you understand that a boss has a get off me move that they're going to spam until you've maintained a certain distance, you can either forcibly keep them spamming that move, or you can purposefully create the distance before they ever use it, and thus have them avoid using the move. There are quite a few different schools of thought regarding how one can reliably adapt to combat in Elden Ring. I tend to be of the latter, because it's less hassle. I don't like having to deal with spamming, which is what the dev teams have effectively resorted to in order to keep their bosses consistent with the average increases in player skill. I'm just gonna... So this is Hendrikus, Recusant Hendrikus. Heavy mace user, wields plate, but also has this real nasty special too. Real nasty weapon art. And it leaves a pool of magma behind. You kind of just have to be... If you're really trying to rebuild FP using Carrion Slicer, you have to be really patient with the guy. And if you get hit by that mace, you are most likely getting hit again. It's got quite a few catch frames on it. When are you gonna drink, big guy? Go ahead and drink now. Bait out the attacks. And our reward is the Hammer Talisman, which I believe the Hammer Talisman is the first talisman that has an actual change to it. Talisman depicting a hammer and a knight. Increases poise damage and enhances stamina, reducing attacks against a blocking opponent. Hammers are highly effective against shield-bearing foes, so much so that they are known as night killers. Yeah, this didn't used to increase poise damage. Now it does. I don't think I don't think any of the other weapon talismans do this. I think that's still strictly in the ballpark of, well, hammer has it, but let's talk to you. All I wanted was to fight as a warrior to the last. So why, O guidance of grace, will this door not open? This is the Colosseum, aka what Kernifer will be working on in future updates to come. Not much to do except, skedaddle, get out of here. Before I do, though, I want to find that golem. I think it's over here somewhere. Or it might actually be over here somewhere. But you'll notice that there are pieces of golems strewn about across the plains. Yeah, I'm hunting an intact version of those, essentially. And yeah, my AC's still busted, so don't mind me if I'm wiping sweat off of my forehead. I don't rock the sweaty look very well, but I don't really have a choice in the matter. Really don't. So, once again, for those who are new, coming in at basically the top of the hour, I'm CoinStamp180, otherwise known as Swirling Vortex 09 on YouTube, and we're playing some Elden Ring Reforged. I want to try to get better about doing top or bottom of the hour notices, just to kind of catch new people who may be coming in for their first time and, not hearing someone silent on the other side. It's kind of a turn-off for streams sometimes, is when the guy's just sitting there slack-jawed like this, gaming with their controller and fighting this really intense boss. I try not to be that guy, but sometimes I can't help it. Okay, we're trying to act. Oh, well, there we go. That'll do it. Anyway, I try not to be that slack-jawed person, and that kind of means making sure I do these top or bottom of the hour notices when I can, to catch some people who might be getting ready to engage for their first time. Elden Ring Reforged, getting back to the actual top of the hour notice. Elden Ring Reforged is a mod authored by Kernifer, which you can find on Nexus Mods. If you want to know more about that, you can type in !ERR or ERRA. They will take you to either the mod authors page or they will take you to the mod page. ERRC will bring up the changelog. All these are done with an exclamation mark, no quotes. I'll have a timer for that. That goes off about every 2 hours. So basically, like little past the midway point of the stream, you guys will get a notice on how to do the commands. If you want to know what kind of build I'm running, you can type in exclamation mark player build, and that'll give you the intention. But for those who maybe just want to hear it from me, we're definitely going to be doing a caster build. So that means incantations and sorceries, both. And that also means we might be hot swapping various class or mechanical systems in order to make room for that. Leave. This is the intact one here. Yep, sure is. There are two kinds of golems. You have the halberd variety. And you have the great bow variety. These guys aren't super difficult, but you do have to, like, give them their space. And typically when they slam the butt of their halberd or poleaxe down into the ground, that is typically the time you want to create distance. You don't want to be getting up in their face unless you can actively dodge stuff. Dodge their attacks. Just keep your distance and you'll be fine. Now, if you're a melee build, yeah, you're going to have to contend with that stuff. Sorry, not a melee person. Although, if you're ever in the market for, you know, watching someone use a carrion slicer, I can do that. That is still technically melee, even if it is not necessarily a, you know, dagger's distance or shorter away. Our reward for getting past this lovely little golem, by the way, is a lance talisman. The lance talisman will enhance attacks on horseback. That's all attacks, by the way, not just some. Sorry, had an itch. So if we equip this, and equip it right now, we should actually see an increase in the damage that we can do. How do we want to address that? Like, actually show it off. Yeah, so this is what it looks like without the talisman. Or like around 70-something. I think it's like a 12 or 15% increase. Oh, never mind. I guess it was closer to maybe 45. Of course, what else I have to wonder is whether or not it actually works with Carrion Slicer. I know this talisman underwent a lot of various changes in Elden Ring Reforged, such that I don't really know if it still does what it says it does out of the box. So what I'm going to do is actually show off a command here. It should be ERRC. We're going to bring up the complete change log. I know this talisman is here, so all we have to do is find it. And I don't think I'm bleeding anymore, which is a good sign. So, where is it? Lance Talisman. Increased damage boost. 15 to 20%. That's all it says. Go ahead and bring back up a previous tab that I needed. And then close the internet so that there aren't dropped frames. I completely blanked on what I was going to say. Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know if there really is a large difference in those talismans, or in the effects of that talisman. It would be single percentage points, if any, on a real damage input. I'm kind of just meandering around instead of doing something useful. As far as I know, there should be a catacomb over in this direction. I just have to find it. Okay, the 78 figure was assuming stealth. That's where I was getting mixed up. So is it over here somewhere? I seem to recall it being set into the cliff. Riding on horseback like this reminds me of watching playthroughs of Shadow of the Colossus, where you spend like tens of minutes on horseback. Oh, hi there. Unthinkable. Our hallowed resting place is violated. To refuse the Erd Tree's call to return, to live within death. Sickening. Yeah, here we learn that the Erd Tree is tied to the cycle, tied to actually dying. You can kind of live in undeath otherwise. As you really kind of just sit there and soak in the story, and you put together the small pieces that various NPCs say, as long as you're not skipping over it, you'll realize what an intertangled web of detail exists in Elden Ring's story. And the beauty of it is this. This mod doesn't touch that. The story is still the same. If you're like, I don't really like it when mods change the story. I don't like it when they add new NPCs. I'm a purist. I like my content from my official development sources to be official, and I like the indie content to be indie. No crossover. I don't like that. Well, Elden Ring Reforged might be the perfect mod for you, because with it installed, you get the exact same story, but with 100% original, or with 100% altered gameplay elements. Classes that don't affect the lore, with mechanics that don't affect the lore, or the story, or the endings, or any of that. And the one thing that did affect a quest line is obsolete now. And that would be the offline Vares mod, which would have been a base for hundreds of mods if they never decided, if FromSoft never decided on fixing that for everyone. Then the offline quest mod would be a practical requirement. It would be fused into the framework of every single mod minted and produced that goes beyond, aesthetics or move sets or a few spells, or anything as extensive as this would require that mod. With FromSoft doing what they did with patch 1.06, don't need that now. You can have vanilla story with overhauled mechanics. It's great. So if you're like, what are they going to change in the story to make it work? You don't have to wonder. The answer is nothing. If you're a story purist, grab this mod today. Literally type in !ERR. Copy the link into your browser of choice. Go download the mod manager and watch the videos for how to install Elden Ring Reforged. It's super simple. It would be. I have a difficult time with mod loader instructions or mod manager instructions, and I don't want to say even but I can do it, and I have a hard time with that stuff. If I can do it, I'm faithful. I have a lot of faith in your ability to do it, because you guys are smarter than me. You guys are more computer literate than me. At least I'd like to think so. The people that I've had grace this channel over the years, most of them are real technophiles. They love their technology and computers. And installing this would be child's play to them. Again, I'm not trying to generalize you guys, just... I know, I tend to be pretty... I could be pretty dense with mod installations. That's why I like Wabajack so much. because it literally take as long as the instructions are spelled out more or less. Even a man like me can enjoy the finest mods that Skyrim Special Edition has to offer. It's great. We're going to dispense with our runes. I believe the Death Touch catacombs hold a secret. There should be an illusory wall here somewhere. But that's just what I remember. And I don't remember... this is one of the few catacombs I don't remember very well. And just like with the skeletons in the river, all you have to do is bash them over the head. Alright, so what do we have here? Right, the holy pots. We have two cracked pot containers. Yeah, two cracked pot containers. So we're going to make our holy water pots and actually use them. What the nice thing about this new FP regeneration system that's in place, moving to Elden Ring Reforged, is that FP is no longer an issue. You hit enough stuff or wait long enough and you'll get it back. Of course, we don't want to spend our holy water pots willy-nilly, but a demonstration certainly couldn't hurt, could it? Yeah, and you can even kill them in one shot as well. But if you kill the skeletons that would resurrect themselves with a holy water pot, like you deal the finishing blow to them, and they won't bother getting up. You might even be able to kill them in one shot. Yep, just like that. Archers, get rid of them in one shot. Tricky, pesky minions, if you're upgrading your faith like you should. If you're running a consumable build, oh god, you need to upgrade all your stats equally. Strength, faith, dex, arcane, you need all 5. But you could probably use, let's see, strength and dex for this, faith for that, arcane for that. It depends on boss weaknesses and stuff in the game. Because ERR, it has reduced holy resistances across the board. It may effectively be that they're the same. That it's largely just, which has readily available materials. Gonna back off. Which consumables have a readily available supply of materials that you can make. Limited only by the cracked pots you can purchase, of course. One of the things I'll probably have to do in my off time with this game is to grind up all the necessary runes to get all the cracked pots and ritual pots. Because those can cost a pretty hefty penny at times. And we won't always have the runes to spend. Because we're going to be buying spells. We're going to be buying catalysts. We're going to be getting the necessary levels in our mental scores. our intelligence, our faith, our arcane, to make sure that we can cast these things, that we could deal damage with these things, even at a disadvantage. Since it's the build we're going for, we want to make sure we do it well. And one of the nice things is since a lot of these spells can be FP regenerators, or not a lot of these spells, but since specific spells are in fact FP regenerators, you can sit there and spam Carrion Slicer all day. You're not waiting on, you don't have to step out of melee and drink to be able to continue slicing. You can just do it. Really? I was not expecting that hitbox. I'm worried that their scimitars are going to have bleed. We're going to go back up now. How's the game sound? Too loud? Too quiet? If it's either or, just let me know. I mean, you're not compelled to let me know, of course, but letting me know will save both you and I unnecessary headaches of constantly adjusting the sound. And, of course, there's no winning with everybody. Some people have setups that are going to amplify everything and there's nothing you can do. Some people have setups that just quiet everything and there's nothing you can do. But if I can get a happy medium where everyone is at least partially happy with what's going on, I'll take that. That's a win, as opposed to a loss. Let's see, is this pointed down? I think so. Trying to get the mic kind of sitting toward or out of my face. Yep, there we go. I might have figured that out just now. Somewhere a heavy door has opened. Yup. And now we have skeletons that are shooting arrows at us. Ossified Remains. My favorite. Absolutely my favorite. We're totally just going to go back up and look for a secret wall, right? Or maybe not even that. Maybe there isn't a secret wall. Nope, no secret wall. Maybe. I know there's supposed to be, but I can't tell if it's here or somewhere else. Where did that come from? I got fired upon. Don't let them get the upper hand. Easy. Easy clap. Easy clap. Okay, I need to try not to fall into various YouTuberisms myself. I complain about that, you know. Like, let's go. What's this? How's that? I know that those are just... I know that those are just how the, how people react to various things. We're just gonna knock out this one right here. Or get him off the platform. That works as well. Alright, now we can deal with them one at a time. I mean, if you want to walk yourselves off the platform, be my guest. Okay, where are they? Ah! Be careful, I can't really see. This kind of reminds me of all the playthroughs I did in Dark Souls 3, where I was dealing with the oh, it's not the Carrion. It's the Karthus Catacombs. There we go. It was much the same then as it is right now. Oh, there was another one that I missed. Good to know. And the Karthus Catacombs had a lot of ambushes, skeleton wheels, the large Karthus swordsmen that went invisible every time they started rolling. It was it really was quite the ordeal. Now I know if I attempt to fight this with no flasks that we're gonna have an issue. We're gonna grind up the necessary runes and store them. So, I'll try to grind these up quick and then show it off. And then we'll probably give an attempt at whatever is in here. Then I'll look up after the attempt is finished, and we'll make sure that that's all there is to this place and I haven't missed anything. If not, then we're good, and if so, then I'll try to find it. Unfortunately, you can't use the torches to deflect anything. Yeah, you're not raising to block. Because if the bigger giveaway is not that, oh, am I blocking, am I not blocking? There should be a buff that shows up underneath the stamina gauge, and it doesn't. That's how you know if you can deflect with a torch or not. That enough? Okay. That is, in fact, enough. So, oh, me... Those footsteps? Those are footsteps, but if we go back and rest, it should be fine. So, if you're ever unsure about, you know, should I go into this fight with runes? Fear not. As long as you're willing to lose approximately 25% of your runes, you can craft them into golden runes. These are hard runes, and they will stay that way until you need them. So, we had like 2583. Now we're carrying just 83. Oh my god, ingenious. There should have been poppable runes right from the beginning. That's a huge quality of life change that is brought about by Elden Ring Reforged. If you like to store your runes and like, oh, I don't want to go visit, you know, Tony, the nomad merchant again, and buy 500 of his finest arrows. I don't want to go visit the Twin Husks and buy their gear for like the 15th time. You don't have to. You could just store it in a hard rune. You can pop whenever you want. Alright. I forget what this boss is. I think it might be the creepy one now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, it's the Black Knife Assassin. A weakened one at that. Come, my jellyfish friend. So the Black Knife Assassins are fast. They will dodge your casts. They will make your life a living nightmare. And you basically have to waste a cast in order to even, you know, fight them with your spells. Jellyfish, I need you to do something. Come on. Of course, casting with my back to the wall and her not real, or me not really being able to see what they're doing is a problem. Yeah, this is really dangerous what I'm doing. On the plus side, they do stagger really easy, but on the minus side, why are you over there, Spirit Jellyfish? Well, the real secret to dealing with them is to use glintstone stars and to just, or some other tracking spell, and just watch as their timing absolutely fails them. I'm not sure what that behavior is. I've never seen the Spirit Jelly do this so consistently, or any summon for that matter, where they're just kind of off in the corner and they forget whatever it is they were doing. I'm gonna have to like take a clip of this or something and maybe show it. I don't know what they're doing over there. Weird. Okay, well that didn't take very long. So we're gonna grab the sweet loot, which is probably Death Root. Let's read our lovely little loot item. I believe it is a key item. Beast Clergyman seeks and devours these. A source that gives rise to those who live in death. The Beast Clergyman found at Bestial Sanctum in the distant east, aka Caelid, collects and devours these roots. On the night of the dire plot, the stolen Rune of Death enabled the first death of a demigod. Later, the Rune of Death spread across the lands between through the underground roots of the Great Tree, sprouting in the form of Death Root. Yup. We can, Oh, also, what is this? Oh, right, it's the letter. Okay. So, we're gonna go back up to the rest site here. Oh, and wonder what the hell that strange noise is. We're gonna rest. And while we rest, I'm gonna take a 10-minute intermission. I'm overdue. I'd use this time to grab a drink or a snack or something along those lines. Take out the trash, talk to a loved one, embrace a loved one. You know, I could go on and on. But, yeah, I'm going to take the 10 minutes to kind of stretch my own legs. And when we return, we're going to head over this way and maybe start to clear out the northern parts of Eastern Limgrave. Maybe check out what's behind here, too. Because I know there's a catacomb in this general direction. And with that, I will be right back. I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Sorry about that. I'm back. I had to go nurse my cut up again. My sincerest apologies about that. And I also had to fix up my drinks. It was flat out. Absolutely flat out. So I suppose while we're returning back, just making sure the menus work as intended. Where was I? I literally just blanked because I was trying to get my thoughts all gathered together, and then I lost them. That's definitely been the case. Oh, tea. I have a story about tea time, guys. So, you guys, I think I mentioned in this stream that I'm a cell and molecular bio major, right? Well, one of the things that I had to study was microbiology. I took let's call it a quarter of the stuff, and it was for nursing students. But we learned pretty well what certain... I'm not a nursing student, by the way. Just want to point that out. So, sweet tea. It's made with water, right? Water, sugar, all that fun stuff. And those of you that have American sweet tea know what I'm talking about. You can get a whole range of options. With the tea, it's either way too sweet, or it might as well be unsweetened, which, by European standards, is sweet tea. There is no sweet tea.
Can you hear me? Help me. I'm stuck. Hello?
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
Anyone? Oh, my stars. I'm so happy to see you. I am Alexander, also known as the Iron Fist. And as you can see, I'm stuck here. Please, can you help me out of this?
Sure.
My thanks. 1,000 thanks. Just give me a good smack from the rear with something nice and big. And I'll pop clean out, I'm sure. Don't dally. There's no need to fret. I'm very well trained. Give it your all, I say.
Well, if you insist. I mean, we got a wimpy old scepter, but... Well, I suppose I'll do something. Nope, that doesn't work. As you can see, none of our attempts work. Gotta use a big ol' axe. I thought I was gonna kill you there, friend.
Well played, good sir. Well played. Though that mighty wallop of yours almost spelled the end of me. Ah. Well, I'm out now, and that's what counts. I thank you. And as a token of my appreciation, I'd like you to have this. Once again, the pleasure is mine. I am the warrior Jar known as Alexander. Iron Fist Alexander, in fact. I journey to the east, where I intend to further my education in the ways of war.
I bet you do.
Beyond these lands lie the scarlet, rot-blighted Kaled wilds. And upon their southern edge is
Redmane Castle, in which a festival of combat is being held. I'd heard whispers of such festivities before. Doesn't the notion set your breast aflutter? I'm heading to Redmane Castle. I've heard there's to be...
You might want to make sure you pay attention to this. This is foreshadowing. You need to talk to him to do this. You need to talk to him. There will be another place we can go not too far from here, right on the border where Caelid is, that we'll see him. We'll see him again. Back to our previous topic of conversation. Just know that you want to talk to Alexander. He's one of my favorite characters in Elden Ring 2, just because of how jovial he is. It's like I'm looking at Sigurd all over again. That's kind of what he's meant to be. He's this jolly warrior who's easy to get along with. Sounds like Sigurd or Siegmeyer of Katarina to me. Sweet tea made with water and sugar and stuff. You know, there's a cold brew version, a hand brewed version. You know, the stuff you get at various fast food joints. And the sweet tea is typically stored in a steel vat or in a small steel dispenser. And employees are supposed to go and periodically stir that stuff up. You know, because the sugar and stuff can settle at the bottom. And they're supposed to glove up for that. They don't. They don't all... Some of them do. But there are definitely people who are lazy and don't. There are germs in there. There's germs. A lot of them. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Much appreciated. Hopefully you're doing all right. I'm going to keep going with my story, but hey, if you've come here for both gameplay and real world discussion, you'll enjoy your stay here. Thank you for visiting the Storm Halls. And I know I changed this to be 5 seconds. Definitely should not be 8 seconds. Not good. Anyway, so sweet tea is one of those things that if you boil it yourself, it's fine. But I actually had the good fortune, or the misfortune rather, to test the water that is used in making sweet tea. In Georgia, specifically Augusta, there's a lake. It's called Diamond Lakes. It's a big body of water, and it's a pretty nice place. Well, that water had something to the order of, I want to say 10,000 bacteria on it when I went through, and when both myself and my partner went through and tested that water, they basically put a coloring agent in it, something that they market to color a bunch of different bacteria that you would normally find in water based on the food they eat. That's more or less how the coloring agent works, is that the food they eat is colored. So when they're cultured, the color of the stuff they ate is what the bacteria will show up as. Kind of looks like Fruity Pebbles after a while. However, you also typically have to go through an activating agent. It's usually sold in a bottle. You can test all kinds of water with it. And when I went through and added the coloring agent and then had it cured, yeah, at least 10,000 bacteria on the tray. And if you're wondering how I make that estimate, there's an actual formula based on the area taken up by the petri dish, multiplied by the amount of time or the height of the bacterial column. There are quite a few ways that you can test bacterial concentrations and get a rough number, including visual appearance. And yeah, the petri tray looked like someone had literally vomited Fruity Pebbles on it. I kid you not. It's riveting, in air quotes, stuff. Very riveting stuff. I know. Appetizing conversation. Who likes talking about that stuff? But I find it's important. Really? Okay. Oh, I thought I was going to be able to get that. Wow, that's twice now that's happened. Okay. Weird. Where's this dragonfly at, then? And we're doing the dragonfly dance. They could do this a lot, by the way. Thank you. But, yeah. And then, I had my microbiology instructor when I was taking this course, he had an associate who tested the water near Columbia, South Carolina. This was at least half a decade ago. I don't know if this is better or worse, but, she took the samples of the water sources near Columbia, South Carolina, and let's just say that about half a dozen restaurants use that same water, and she even managed to be able to test the tea in said restaurant. She got banned from restaurants in that city for like a year because she exposed the amount of bacteria in their water. Now you might be thinking, ugh, what sort of bacteria are we talking about? There's bacteria everywhere. You can't possibly mean that, bacteria it can't be that bad for you. You're right, it's not. Here's the thing about bacteria. When they live in a place they're supposed to be, in the way they are supposed to be, it's fine. Did you know that E. coli lives in your gut? You know, that really bad disease that if you ingest E. coli, there's a problem? Yeah, there's already E. coli inside of you. Like, thousands and thousands of bacterial E. coli cells. They're in there. And they break up the stuff in your gut. You have bacteria that help you digest vitamin K. Do you know that vitamin K is not digestible, but through human stomach acids alone? It's literally insoluble. You have to use bacteria to break it. If you don't have bacteria digest that stuff, you can't get vitamin K ever at all. That's why, your antibiotic regimens, it's so important to consider taking probiotics after you're through with them, because you'll literally become vitamin K deficient over time. There are a few other vitamins that are like this, where you need bacteria to break them down. K is the most common one, however. All this to say, bacteria are important, and when they're in the right place, it's fine. What if you get a cut, like a deep gash, or someone stabs you? That's when you gotta worry about that stuff. Because when you're stabbed and your organs are perforated, or you get ulcers, or other things that cause the contents of an organ to spill over and transfer into some other place, those bacteria are no longer where they're supposed to be. They're somewhere else. Yeah, they're somewhere else. And because they're somewhere else, they wreak havoc. Your body is not prepared to deal with E. coli or Heliobacter or other bacteria that live inside your gut and help you do or perform various tasks, or at the very least they don't harm you. You don't have systems in place like that in your bloodstream or, you know, in your chest cavity or anywhere else. That's why bacterial infections or complications due to bacterial infection can be so common sometimes. Even in surgery, if the surgery isn't done right, or, you know, everything isn't closed up properly, or if the patient does something to make the injury rupture wide open, you can develop sepsis and you can die. I'm not joking. You can literally die because bacteria in one part of your body went to someplace else and started, you know, eating up all your cells in your body. It looks like necrosis. It's not fun. So just ingesting E. coli itself doesn't seem like a big deal until you realize, oh, hey, wait, there's not supposed to be this much E. coli in our drinks. Like a few hundred of them? Yeah, you'll probably be fine. A couple thousand? Now you're going to start to feel something. Because your body would be too overwhelmed fighting the few hundred to notice that the rest of them are busy multiplying. Bacterial medicine is very complicated, and I gave you guys practically a really simplified version of it, and that's assuming I got the details correct, that I remember what I was taught 5 years ago. It could be different now. The underlying principles should be the same, but maybe we've discovered something about E. coli that I just don't know. But without testing that stuff, without studying this stuff, you'd never know. 6 years ago, I couldn't have told you whether or not, you know, bacteria in drinking water is bad. Or I might have, out of reaction, said, yes, it is, not realizing that bacteria is everywhere. Bacteria is absolutely everywhere. And it's, a lot of bacteria are part of you. A lot of them are part of you. And that's perfectly okay. Because there are way many more bacteria than there are of us. Just like there are many more insects than there are of us. There's several orders of magnitude of difference between insects and, like, mammals. I definitely didn't... Oh. Okay. Weird, but whatever. Gonna let you back off and sort of regain our FP that way. And these guys have some deceptive reach, by the way. Don't get overconfident. Don't let your ego get in the way of fighting these guys. They mean business. And what I did there with getting that fourth hit in was greedy. I could have been punished for that, or even killed. In Elden Ring, you want to be careful. Let's see, it's 319. I'll go ahead and mention it again, or say again. For those who are just now coming here, I'm CoinStamp180, or have recently got here. I'm CoinStamp180, otherwise known as Swirling Vortex 09 on YouTube, and we're playing some Elden Ring Reforged. If you ever want to know anything about the mod we're playing, you can type in !ERR without quotes, and you'll be taken to the mod page. There will be a link that you can copy and paste into your browser of choice, and it has instructions for how to download the mod, what you need to start testing and playing with the mod. And here's a very quick check that I could show you that you can do to let yourself know you're playing this mod. Don't worry, it's not drinking tea. If you tap B to duck, the duck is how you know right away you're in the right place. See. If I tap B and you see this third debuff or third buff appear underneath the stamina gauge, that's the deflection buff. Those two things should let you know you're in the right ballpark for the mod right away. Not really much more to say than that. Think of Elden Ring Reforged as somewhere between a light touch-up of the system and an overhaul or rebalancing. It's quickly approaching a complete overhaul. There's some things that are left alone, but it really is. It changes up so many things. If you ever want to know, oh boy. If you ever want to know what the systems in play are, up to a certain point, you can type in !ERRC without quotes, and that'll bring you to another link called the change log. It's the complete change log. If you copy that and paste that into your URL in a browser of your choice, it'll take you to a Google document with all of the changes that are in place up to a certain point. Also, I believe we took care of this, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it. Nothing else up here. So the only thing left now that we need to do is go back and see about buying some more of the Oracle's Remedy, which will let us get more classes.
Always a pleasure.
Yep, 500 for this one. Let's go ahead and buy cracked pots while we're here. We need those. And we'll go ahead and get all of our runes back. And we're going to go do a little bit of a tour for the remedies. There should be at least two that we have at. There should be at least 2 to 3 classes that we should have access to right now. And because I can't guarantee that the same people were here yesterday as the day before, I'll quickly kind of intro the system again, assuming that I can, find a remedy for purchase.
You again, I don't want.
They get more expensive, too. That first one was 500, this one's 1,000.
All done?
Alright. Let's return over to the Death Touch Catacombs and I can show this off. So, we're going to review the item again. That's the Furl Calling Remedy. Should be a key item. Yep, Oracle's Remedy. Golden powder used by oracles to perceive fates. Use the oracle effigy at the site of grace sites of grace to discover new fortunes. And the way that the the patch notes state this, that these are common fortunes, which means that as the system is developed, there will be better and better fortunes to choose from. So there may be an uncommon fortune or a rare fortune. Excuse me, long COVID and all that. So, when you rest and you've got the Oracle's effigy, which you would need to buy from Merchant Kale to get access, I think it's like 5,000 runes for it. It's expensive, but it's worth it. You'll be presented with two options: to divine a fortune and to select a fortune. Divining Fortunes will bring you to the Fortunes menu, and you can actually purchase something. Yeah, I know, you purchase an Oracle's Remedy just to have to turn around and actually purchase these, but the cost is a pittance compared to the item. It's kind of a non-cost, really. It's to make sure they're actually displayable in a menu, I think is the way I understand it. So, we already have one of these. That's the Fortune of the Wizard. And you'll notice that these have a lot of text on them. A lot of text. But what it basically boils down to is, do you often find yourself doing specific things? Why not get a reward for that you could change out at any time as long as you possess the appropriate item at any rest site of your choice? As long as you're willing to take the trade-off of, if you need to pivot out, and you don't want to change the class, you're going to have a hard time with that. We already have one. The Fortune of the Wizard basically increases sorcery damage overall and increases elemental sorcery damages further. Gives us more FP regen, gives us more FP regen based on the number of slots the spell uses. Makes us more vulnerable to physical damage. Decreases our weapon attack power. Increases FP costs for anything that isn't a sorcery. If you're a sorcery person, you want this class. Unless you specifically use glintstone stuff, then you'll want the sorcerer over the wizard for that fortune. But that isn't the fortune we're getting today. We're going to be focusing on faith-driven fortunes. And specifically, the one that I think of... see. I think the choices between Paladin and Warlock... Yep, okay. So Warlock says, increases FP, increases Faith and Arcane, increases memory slots, increases incantation damage, increases Blood Flame, Rot, Frenzy, and Dragon incantation damage even more. Increases damage and decreases FP costs of incantations when any status effects occur in the vicinity. Also increases stamina regeneration. So it's the spitting image of the wizard, but change the focus. Wizard is direct damage spells. Warlock is status spells. Decreases vigor and endurance. Decreases status resistance. Decreases runes or souls gained. Increase skill and sorcery FP costs. If we need to use incantations, and if we want status effects, we'd better learn to appreciate them. We're going to want this. Now, one change that is effective as of patch 4.37 is that... Really? You still can't do this? The change that is supposed to be in place is that you should be able to adjust the Fortunes menu so that it appears as long as you have the Oracle Effigy, even if it is not in your inventory. What? Even if it's not in your inventory? What's that supposed to mean? The Oracle Effigy is a key item. It's always in inventory. That's really weird. Okay, I guess I don't understand the update then. At least not in its entirety. Not sure what else to say to that, really. We don't have enough miracles, miracles. We don't have enough incantations to make that swap really worth it, and we don't really have the correct ones to use. We still kind of don't have the correct ones to use with with the wizard class, but okay, I need a cough drop. That's the thing about long COVID, man. You really don't appreciate the health you have until it's gone. I didn't used to have to need cough drops this badly, just to be able to speak, and I need them now. And it's such a problem. Yeah, it's a big problem. I think one of the other merchants, not Patches, but someone else, has a remedy for sale. And I think it's like 8,000 runes. What was I saying before? Right. With regard to classes, we don't really have the tools to use any of them right now. Not especially well. But if our goal is to be casting spells, then we should aim to do that as much as possible. And that means we should pick something that actually supports that playstyle. A lot of the other ones are hybrids, so like the Paladin increases incantation damage for specific types, or decreases cost of specific types, and lets you restore FP by taking damage or blocking attacks. Even more so if they're perfect blocks. Think of the Fates system as a way to spice up gameplay and reward you for for engaging in a playstyle you like to use. Whereas the classes in vanilla Elden Ring are stat loadouts. You're choosing what your starting stats are, and that's it. There's nothing wrong with that, but the Fates or Fortunes feel like an actual class. Will you stop banging your head on the ground there, good sir? These pumpkin heads are always a handful. And our reward is a pumpkin helm. Yay! These things are actually really good. They're really heavy, though. An oval helm, large enough to cover any head, very heavy and very hard, reduces damage from headshots and impacts. The inside of the helm is pitch black, keeping the crazed warrior within from panicking. Perhaps its rather roomy interior also helps alleviate feelings of pressure and claustrophobia. And it has a hidden onion property, let's call it. The pumpkin property. Where, I remember in Cinders for a while, and Convergence as well, if you wore the Katarina set, you had, like, weird deflection frames. It's the best, or a weird deflection property where sometimes spells would bounce off the armor. Attacks that weren't bludgeoning bounced off the armor, and it rewarded the Katarina Knight for wearing this really ridiculously heavy set. It's great stuff. Well, that's how we know that one's working. I think what we want to do... There should be a catacomb over here. Oh yeah, these guys hurt. They hurt more when you're a wizard, though. Aw, that spit sucks. Okay, Mr. Dragonfly Head, that's what you get for getting in the way. Unfortunate. It didn't have to be like that, Dragonfly. You could have just minded your own business. My gripe was with the, land octopus. Not you. But, hey, sometimes... sometimes it can't be helped. You just have to deal with enemies that get in your way. And a lot of things want you dead in this world. Come on, come on. One nice thing about our glintstone package we have right now is lots of things really just can't stand up to us once we get our momentum going. Lots of enemies can't really keep up with the amount of poise damage we're doing. They can't really mind the... they can't really just afford to ignore us. That'll teach you to try to ambush me. Oh boy. Oh yeah, when these things do this, just run. Don't even try to get that many hits in, if at all. Just run. You're better off trying to be patient and wait. Trust me, your patience will be well rewarded. How's everyone doing? Hopefully everyone had a good intermission. I had a good intermission. I mean, it was a little bit longer than expected because I had to go, tend to a cut on my leg. Not sure how it happened, but I started, re-bleeding. Not fun. Then it took me a little longer than I liked to prepare the drink, prepare my drinks and to finish talking with my parents. And other things that generally come along with, living in a house that's not yours. That's really interesting. I know there's something up there. And I can't quite put my thumb on how to get up there. Maybe through here? Yeah, this is how you're gonna get up there. Don't remember what's at that bonfire, though. Or pyre? I really want to be careful with the word bonfire, even though bonfire is accurate. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people still use bonfire to describe this. And that's not right. It's more like a campfire. Oh. Must have decided he wanted to spend his last days enjoying a nice, delicious haunch of turtleneck. Oh. Thinking about turtle, like people hunting turtle, makes me sick. I've never had it, So imagine if, you know, there's like an invasive turtle species somewhere. It's not as big of a deal, but I don't like, there's so many turtle species that are endangered. There are a lot of them that are endangered. And people are just poaching them. Some people are out there poaching them right now. And that really just makes me so sad. We as humans have a long way to go before we are really in resonance with nature herself. I'm an unofficial member of the Order of Bards and Ovates. I'm a philosophical druid. That's how I like to think of myself. I'm not a Celt. I want to be really clear. Even though I have Scottish ancestry, I believe my... Let's see... I'm 3 generations removed from a real Scot. I don't claim that heritage. I don't own it. I don't deserve it. I haven't done anything to earn the trust of the clans. So it would be better to say my family was born in that place, but when they moved here, they kind of lost any real access to that heritage. That sort of died with... It's probably gonna die with my mother, if I'm being completely honest with you. Maybe my sibling might carry that torch, but I'm choosing not to claim it for myself. I completely forgot where I was gonna take that. I was gonna take that somewhere. Right. In regards to druidism, there are religious druids out there. They are Celts. It is considered a closed, or at least a semi-closed religion, to my understanding. You cannot be a druid unless you're a Celt or you're invited by one. The philosophical kind, however, that's open, as far as I know. And really, being a druid is... I could say, oh, well, it's about maintaining balance, or it's about, you know, respecting nature, or... I could go on and on about my personal beliefs, but really when you get down to it, being a philosophical druid means being open to the idea that your principles are flexible, that that everything about you is worth scrutiny and debate. Why do you believe the way you do? Why do you think the way you do? What evidence do you have? Druids back in the day were philosophers. They debated these things. Like, yes, they were Celts, but they also just sat around and talked a lot. They debated the meaning of various things. That's what the Order of Bards and Ovates do. And you could be a philosophical druid and serve some other master, if that is what you desire. Druidism is not about, like, the druidism I subscribe to is not about being a Celt. It's about being willing to debate anyone over anything. And then realizing, you can't always do that. Like, it's being pragmatic. Philosophical druids are very, very pragmatic people. Where it's not in the wheelhouse to be stubborn or manipulative or tell people what to do. A lot of, but not all, philosophical druids exercise some form of restraint. I exercise a lot of restraint. I don't like telling people what to do. I don't mind doing it if I'm asked to, or if I'm in charge, then yeah, I gotta tell people what to do. Congratulations, you gotta dictate things. That's called being in a position of power. But you can always go about it with a pragmatic attitude. You don't have to be an imperial about it. You don't have to be an emperor. You don't have to demand that people do X or Y. You just need to be willing to accept that sometimes it's more important to be pragmatic than to be principled, and that your principles aren't always worth dying for. They're not always worth fighting for. Sometimes you're wrong. You're straight up wrong. And someone has come as an agent of change. You get one chance, maybe two, to recognize that you're wrong. And then suddenly, you can find yourself on the opposite side of a debate, the result. You can, when it's time for action, and the time for being a mystic is over, when the time for reason is over, and the follow-up to that reason begins, if you haven't changed sides, or you haven't realized that your principles aren't right in this situation, you're going to end up regretting it, no matter what the situation is. I'm being very general about this on purpose. Principles are fine until they get you killed. Sometimes it's worth getting killed for the sake of defending your principles. Sometimes it's not. If the net result is the same, then do whatever you believe in. If the net result is more lives are saved, or, no one has to experience great pain, go with whatever does that. That's called being pragmatic, smart, reasonable, flexible, a human being. Being obstinate because the facts don't favor you and you only have your principle or beliefs to go on is very dangerous. It's what's led to a lot of war. A lot of war, a lot of needless bloodshed, a lot of needless persecution, all of it. All of it could be solved if people were pragmatic if people were more pragmatic than principled. It's very important to be both. Don't let me dissuade you from having principles. They're important. They make you a better fit for the social contract. People need to know, and maybe not even just people, but you need to know how you like to handle situations yourself. Other people need to know how you handle situations so they can handle you. They can deal with you. They can cope with you. You have to coexist with other people. And having principles it's something that you kind of develop no matter what. Even if you go out of your way to say, I'm just going to do whatever floats my boat. The fact that you're doing whatever floats your boat is a principle in and of itself. And other people are going to say, oh, well, that person's a windbag. And is just going to go with... they're just going to wet their finger, wait for the wind, and go where that's going. They're not a principled person, in air quotes. That in itself is a principle. And people will adapt to that accordingly. So I guess what I'm trying to say, without getting super windy about it, is that you have principles no matter what. Even if they're completely random, and they change entirely based on circumstance, you have them. You're just choosing not to follow them for more than one single given situation at a time. There's both a beauty and a sadness to that. Nothing wrong with it, but I'm also a creature of order, and I prefer dealing with people who have patterns. Nothing wrong with that. People are not obligated to behave in manners or ways that you see fit. They're not obligated to act a certain way for you. But when we're talking about the philosophical fit or fitness of people or populations, that conversation's going to go up. Well, is it order versus chaos? No, it's pragmatism versus principles. It's the willingness to take each situation as it comes, or the willingness to form a long-term pattern of what to do in a variety of situations that sometimes falls short. Being adaptable versus being predictable, and some would say reasonable. I think both are important. But that's pretty much that what I just spent probably 10 minutes talking about right there, like principles versus pragmatism, you know, whether you like it or not, you have principles, blah blah blah. That's pretty much what any acolyte of the order of bards and ovates spends their time doing when they're not busy living in the real world and attending to the needs of the real world. Is they're pontificating over the greater meaning in things. I shouldn't say a greater meaning. That implies that druids are, you know, holier than thou, self-serving, and think they're better than everyone else. Some probably do, but I certainly don't. It's more about trying to understand how the world works. Should we live with the world, or should we bend the world to our whim? Which way is right? Is there a right way? Are there simply ways to exist, and us as human beings need to find some way to reconcile that with someone else? You know, eternal questions. Eternal questions that we spend a long time thinking about, and that populations spend time thinking about and never really get to form an answer on until either it's too late, or, you know, the answer is constantly changing because different groups of people are coming up with a different amount of the same answer. X this year and then Y the next year. The change. The logic has changed. Okay, did I get lost somewhere? Ah, no, I remember. This place is kind of windy. This catacomb has like 2 parts. Speaking of parts, here's the statue. Oh, and I know this place is pretty infamous on like a, what is it, an all bosses no-hit run? Yeah, this place is pretty infamous. The bats always get you. You think you stealth by them, and turns out, lo and behold, no you didn't. You just thought you did. See, we already had to kill 2 of them, and they found us. We didn't find them, they found us. It's rough. And this place kind of winds back on itself over quite a few different times. There are also ways you could die. Like that water down there, you can just fall off into the abyss and die. My apologies for being quiet. I just want to get these jumps kind of correct. Backing up into a place I have not seen yet is very dangerous. Where are we at exactly? The High Road Cave. That's right. I believe there's a secret boss here, too. I wouldn't call it a secret boss. It's more like a field boss. Oh, I thought it was here. Is it someplace else? It might be the waterfall cave at the bottom I'm thinking of then. Yeah, as I said, this place loops in on itself a lot. A lot. Very easy to get lost. Not know which way you're going. Oh, okay, you fall. That's what you do. You fall down here. Oh, really? Really? Oh, yeah, this is... Oh, is that a dead bat? It might be. And there's a... No, I think that's the bat. Yeah, that's the bat. I don't recommend trying to make that jump if you can't... If it's at all possible. Shamshir? Oh, that's what's on this corpse. Right. Okay, any bats? Let's inspect our new find. It's a curved sword. Oh, God. So grimy. So sweaty. Bathrobes. Bathrobes? Yeah. I'm not wearing anything untoward. I've got a shirt on. I'm clothed. I'm not wearing the usual dress-up gear. I'm not wearing my usual suit. My apologies. But again, I already explained this in the beginning. I have to keep an eye on this cut on my left leg. Curved sword with a thin blade of ample length. Great, so your average curved sword. Light of weight despite its larger size. Its slicing attacks come in rapid succession. A devastatingly powerful weapon in the hands of a skilled swordsman. And I think... No, we need the dex to two-hand that. Yeah, we need the dex to two-hand that. Unlike strength, where you can basically get somewhere between 2 and 8 points away from the item in question in terms of its stat requirements, the dex, you have to be spot on. Oh, that was close. Okay, this is where the boss is. We're not going here yet. We actually need to go somewhere else first. And that means making this risky jump twice. Oh, and the plan is to get through this cave. And then we'll probably call it for the evening. Or afternoon? Yeah, afternoon. Oh. That jump gives me nightmares. Trying to do. Real nightmare. True terror. Well, hello there. Random land octopus just sitting on the side of the cliff there. Easy souls. Easy runes. Hi. Secret boss. And the secret boss is going to slam its tentacles. Oh, Lord. Thankfully, this isn't too hard. We could quite literally just spam our attacks. And we even get this nice hallway as shelter. No dealing with ads, nothing of the sort. Just easy runes. And it appeared to be guarding a bunch of dead Kaiden mercenary corpses. I wonder what for. Well, I think I remember. There's an item over here. Either that or there's a ledge over here. Burrow calling finger remedy. Right. Yep, so this was the loop. Now we're going back over this way. Just making sure that wasn't something important. So, I forget what the boss is. I think it's like it's some sort of stone golem. Yeah, it's the golem. It's the guardian golem. What? Was there... Oh, the hitbox had to be active for that. Okay, yeah, you gotta roll through that. Or, yeah, that had to have been active halberd hitbox frames. And magic damage works pretty well here. You just have to pay attention. This is pretty similar to the Soldier of Godric, where it's an enemy that just so happens to be a boss in some areas. It's not that hard. Well, I say that, but I'm a caster, so it may depend on your build. But it's just a matter of getting away from them when you need to get away from them. If you let them get their space, they're not too hard. Oh, except when you're being incompetent like that. Yeah, I'm being incompetent. Let's stop that. And our reward is the Blue Dancer Charm. Which, the Blue Dancer Charm, if I recall, is it's basically the Flynn's Talisman. Raises attack power with lower equip load. Yep. Our equip load's like at 50% right now. So I feel like the blue dancer charm isn't actually going to do much. It even has a hefty weight to it. But yeah, we got the reward. The reward was good. We haven't made it to Eastern Limgrave, or we did make it to Eastern Limgrave, but we're like right on the border. We haven't done the stuff up here yet. That's probably gonna be our next goal, is to just tackle all the stuff over here. And then we're gonna make a beeline for the Weeping Peninsula and do everything here. Working our way outside, going in. Before eventually making our way through Castle Morn and doing that quest line. The Weeping Peninsula will probably take us around 2 episodes to complete. Maybe 3, depending on what exactly happens. It also depends on how I feel after classes starting Wednesday. I might do a grinding AMA. We'll see. Let's see. Might as well stop it here. No reason to go to some other rest site. So this has been Elden Ring Reforged stream. What we're gonna do now is go find someone to host. Let's see. Anyone doing anything really good? Not that I have relations with. So I think I'll turn you guys over to Bob Ross. If you guys like relaxing streams, something died, apparently. If you guys like relaxing streams, where you're free to just kind of veg out and not think twice about what it is you're doing, I highly recommend checking them out. They're, I think you'll like just being able to, you can even fall asleep to Bob Ross if that is what you want to do. It should be this is like the last day of the marathon. Hopefully there will be some people that I know of tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Wednesday, for Elden Ring, or doing Elden Ring content that would be willing to take us. But for now, I'm going to turn you guys over to Bob Ross. Thank you guys so much. Remember that I'll put a tweet out about this, but on going forward, all streams will be from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that might put us in a better ballpark for content, for going over to some of your favorite content creators over on Twitch. Thank you guys so much. Stay safe out there. World's a dangerous place. I'll do my best to make sure our storm halls are always a place where you can be welcome. You might not always be safe, because discussions get real in here. I'm not afraid to have them either. So they're not a safe place, but they are they should be a familiar place for you to come to. And with that, I will see you guys next time on Wednesday. Take care.